I'm Diana McCullum.
Hey, I'm Andrew Rodney.
And this is Fan vs. Fan for The Flash.
Of the rampaging holographic Godzilla coming to town, Caitlin reunites with her mom, and the Killer Frost powers are getting a little bit more out of control. Surprise, surprise, yet another Earth has a Harrison Wells that lies. Cisco figures it all out, and that poor kid is going to jail for sure. Let's get into the episode. Let's talk about pros. All right, pros for tonight's episode. So first of all, before we get into it, for anyone on the live stream, comment now. We're going to do something a little bit different this week. Switching it up. At the end of the pros section, we're going to go into the comments and talk a little bit about what you guys liked. We'll do the same at the end of the cons section, anything that you guys didn't like, and we'll do the same thing at the end of the Easter egg section. So we're going to do a little bit at the end of each segment rather than all in one big lump like we used to do. So that's what we're going to do tonight. But before we even get into the pros of this week's episode, we did miss last week's episode of The Flash. Unfortunately, we weren't here to guide you through.
We're sorry. We hope you missed us too. We missed you.
I feel like I let you down, but we're going to get through this together.
We didn't miss it. We watched it.
Yes, that's correct.
So we didn't miss it like that.
Quick comments on last week's episode. Diana, what do you have to say about last week's episode?
How dare you break my heart with only 30 seconds of Captain Cold?
Okay.
I think is the title of the episode.
That's fair.
Officially?
Yeah, you wanted more.
Don't you hype up Cap. What was Wentworth Miller even doing there?
Okay.
Why do you get him for a day to do that?
He was probably around. He was around.
You know what? If he was around, I'd also film him.
That man hangs
just
around.
For my personal collection.
All right. Yeah.
Make it weird.
I get that. Yeah, you would make it weird. My personal favorite thing about last week's episode, I kind of loved all of last week's episode, but I really loved it because of the several different alternate Earth versions of Harrison Wells.
Oh, alternate Earth Harrison Wells. How did we get stuck with this one? We could have had Mime Wells.
French mime Harrison Wells? Come on. Yeah, how he was miming equations? I don't know how he did that, but that was charming as hell. That was a really fun segment, and that was great to see. But that's just a little touch on how we felt about last week's episode. But we need to get into this week, talk about pros of this week's episode. Diana, what did you like?
Oddly similar to what you just proed for last week.
Mm-hmm.
Every joke Harrison Wells had this episode was so killer.
Most
I
definitely.
don't think I've laughed at an episode of The Flash this much before.
I agree, yeah. His comedy's landing.
Yeah, like, what did we call Gladiator on this planet? We called it Sweaty Men. Like,
but even when, like, they add a tag on top of a tag, when he's like, we called it Sweaty Man, it didn't play well.
And he's like saying it so cool, like, he doesn't expect it to be a punchline.
Yeah.
And, Murder on the Titanic. Who cares? Like, every single one of these jokes landed so hard.
Written really well, and it's a big pro for me. Like, Tom Cavanaugh is a comedic actor, and this is him getting to do comedy again. Straight up comedy. Like, not just a, like, oh, there's one little snippet of a joke every here and there with the old Wells. Like, no, this is a comedic performance. This is a sitcom character, and this is comfortable. This is where he belongs. This is his skin.
Oh yeah, it's really funny. It makes me wonder why we've had 2 seasons of Barry, you have to run faster. Like, why have we had 2 seasons of gravel?
The tone of voice change alone.
Oh yeah, there's no gravel.
No gravel anymore.
Throat gravel removal. There was like a gravelectomy.
I feel like the different Earth versions. I'm like, this Earth is like, this is a Ricola ad. Like, this is a, like, he took a lozenge and was like, Barry, you need to run fast. I'm sorry. You guys want to talk about movies? Like, I'm like, oh wow, you sound so much healthier. That's great.
Maybe it's like what happens when you shave the sides of your head.
Oh, okay.
Your voice really opens up.
Or you wear just like an ugly little pork pie hat. It just pushes the voice down better. Yeah, it makes it sound better. I want to smack that hat right off of his face. But other than that, I love everything about the new Wells.
Actually, oddly enough, I'm not sure I love the idea of a non-genius Wells.
Okay.
And he does do some things that annoy me, but these comedic beats he's hitting, I'm like, I forgive everything that mildly annoys me. This is so funny.
Right. I kind of like how they made him like a Steve. I like how they made him like a Steve Jobs-y character, where he's like, I'm the ideas man. You guys are the Wozniaks. Get to work. Like, I kind of dug that
Next
dynamic.
Next week he's gonna be in a turtleneck.
Yeah, absolutely. They just got to get him a few turtlenecks.
The face man.
Yeah.
He's Steve Jobs.
Yeah, you're telling me that hat is not his Earth's turtleneck, that he just wears that at every press conference ever. I liked it. I think one of my other big pros for this episode that I really liked, and I didn't see it coming. It's like,
how much did you like it?
Take a bite out of it. I'm sorry, I heard it. I put it back. It's precious. Was how they wrote Cisco this episode. I thought it was going to be yet another, and at first I was kind of like, ugh, we've been there. It's a new Wells, and the team has felt betrayed by previous ones, so Cisco doesn't trust it for no good reason. And then when Cisco, mid-episode, realizes why he's not trusting of this Wells, and it's justified and legitimate and vindicated, I'm like, that's really fun. Like, I like that they made that no one was wrong in the Star Labs team. Like, everyone who did like him, they were correct for liking him. Cisco, who didn't like him, was also correct for not liking him. They made things not quite as black and white as there's one character who's just being an a-hole, which is usually how they write the show, of being like, one character decides to be unreasonable next week. Yeah. But this week, everyone was reasonable.
Because I definitely remember last season when they didn't trust new Wells, and we were like, old Wells was the reverse Flash, and real Wells was a very trustworthy man.
Yeah, just be reasonable, please.
Yeah, could you just remember that, please, all of you? Yeah, everyone was very reasonable, and it all played out in a reasonable way where, like, how people respond and what real answers usually.
Yeah, and it still moved forward the plot, and it still escalated the series of events, but it did so in a way that was, like, relatable and organic, and each individual turn that those characters in this scenario, in this episode, made, it was all just like, yeah, I totally get your motivation. I'm completely with everyone. I understand what everyone's doing. It's escalating things and moving them along further, but I'm with you for the whole way, which is good.
Everyone felt motivated. Everyone felt like a real person who we didn't have to yell at the TV about.
Yeah.
Which is a plus every time that happens.
Absolutely.
I totally agree.
All right, so I think before we get to the end of the pros section, what do we have going on in the chat room? What do we got going on right now?
David Folsby says,
"Hey Folsby,
hey David,
he's been waiting since season 1 for Caitlin to turn into Killer Frost.
And
he really loves that it's finally happening in like the legit, real timeline."
I agree. I agree with Folsby. I definitely want a full-on Frost. We need to go full Frost.
I actually am really excited for her to full-on Frost because I think she's a much better actress as Killer Frost.
I agree.
Because regular Caitlin is very boring. She's written kind of boring, and the actress in Danielle Panabaker is a little boring in my opinion. But when she played Killer Frost on Earth 2, I was like, she is so much better in this role. She was way more exciting and
she was way more exciting. She was, I think because she's not great with subtlety. She's not. Flat out, she's not.
No, it's a great observation.
But her strength is when she tries to play something very cartoony and over the top, then it also lands in like a good area where like it doesn't go cartoony and over the top to her, because when she pushes herself to her zaniest limits, it's just expressing normal human emotion.
It's just enough human emotion on Frost. All right.
A. Michaels likes how Julian and Barry are becoming friends. I think they're going to throw that to the wind at some point. But...
All right,
okay.
A. Michaels? Julian and A. Michaels?
Yes.
Julian and Barry are friends.
Well, first of all, thank you for the comment, A. Michaels. Yeah. And I also really like how they're becoming best friends. That was going to be like a third pro for me. I think they're really charming and playful together. I kind of like... Again, I like opposing views where neither person is wrong. It's one of the more complicated things to write.
They're both very reasonable. Yeah, he's like, I don't like metahumans because statistically most of them are criminals.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? That's fair. And but then he gets to the real personal reasons of I'm just legitimately threatened by them, and now I'm vulnerable and stuff. And their friendship is growing nicely. I like them both. I hope he doesn't end up being evil.
He's for sure gonna betray.
No, it could be a very like Eddie in season 1 thing where he's just connected peripherally to the evil.
He definitely won't though. I think we can move. Or do we have one more comment?
Yeah, there's a few more.
Okay.
Sir Titan.
Okay.
Says he liked the whole H.G. Wells thing.
Yeah. I definitely.
He knew he was a writer when that.
Yeah, I also really like.
Yeah, I was gonna get into that on Easter egg section a little bit.
Yeah, we'll dive a little bit more into that after.
Into the Wells.
We'll definitely like it.
And the Murder on the Titanic line was a big hit.
Murder on the
Murder on the Titanic. Who did it? Who cares? We're gonna drown.
Although I would love to watch that movie, trying to solve a murder before the boat goes down. It would actually.
It was one of those lines
where
I'm
Doctor
like,
Who episode.
I was just thinking. I was thinking about how much I would love to see that episode of Doctor Who.
I think it'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really, they could just make it a Legends of Tomorrow episode. It could be a Doctor Who episode. It's a line on the Flash. We're describing the premise of a Legends of Tomorrow episode. I think that covers it for the pros, though. Let's move on from there. Let's talk about cons. All right, so cons for this week's episode. Diana, what didn't you like?
I'm going to pick one specific scene.
Okay.
And it's the scene where that scientist went insane.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. That was pretty bad.
What was anything in that scene? Just all of a sudden this dude who had one line, which was like science, earlier in the show. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden he's like locking a door and threatening her with like no weapons, nothing to threaten her with, even though he saw her cool down a nuclear reactor like an hour ago. You're not making her do anything. Like, I almost expected a twist where the mom had made him do it.
Yeah, she had injected him with like some kind of like mind controlling nanotechnology
or
or
like,
something.
You know, go threaten her so she'll come to me and she'll trust me or something. Like,
well, that's kind of what I thought, but with a like mind control element, not a like, could you do me a solid? How do you feel about locking yourself in the room with the murder machine?
I thought it was a solid. She's like the boss. She pays his bills.
I'd be like, I quit. I flat out quit.
Will you go threaten that metahuman who's my daughter?
You know what? Solid no. Hard no. Anyway, enjoy the lab coat back. Bye.
Okay, well, just go threaten her on your own then.
Yeah.
No motivation, terrible acting. It came out of nowhere. It was all, like, it all felt like a setup for a turn that never happened.
Yeah, I really thought that scene was going to end with her trying to, like, freeze him, and he, like, turns into the Godzilla monster. I'm like, there's something going on with this dude. And I'm like, oh, no, you're just a character who shouldn't have had this scene or should have had 40 other scenes in this episode because what is happening? Why are you here, dude?
Or more
Why are you here?
Or more repercussions, because, like, she doesn't accidentally murder him, which would have been a huge story arc. Like, Caitlin on the run accidentally murdering, or, like, her and her mother covering it up. Like, that would have been, like, interesting, at least. It was just, like, nothing and weird and didn't fit the rest of the episode at all.
Yeah, and really, it had the whole storyline. Not only that scene, the whole Caitlin storyline had nothing to do with the rest of the episode and could have just not happened. We could have had one
anything about her powers.
Yeah, because we always get that little post-credit bumper on The Flash. There could have been a post-credit bumper of her just being like, what are the test results? Oh, my powers are going to get worse the more I use them? Crud, ice. Like, that could have been
But last episode's bumper
summary.
was her powers going crazy in the shower. The last two bumpers have been
So they've already visually told us the story that they told us as the C-plot in this episode that we didn't need, had a terribly performed scene with a weird scientist who didn't have any lines prior, who freaked out and thought he could take down a meta in a locked room, and that would get him promoted? Question mark?
One of those, like,
what was happening there?
It was one of those step 1, lock a meta in a room. Step 2, question mark. Step 3,
profits. That was what it is. That's what it was.
Yeah, he didn't figure out step 2.
Yeah, and step 2 is a very important step.
But anyway, what was your con?
I mean, that was definitely going to be a big one. That was going to be one of them. I would say one of my other cons for me was the fact that the storyline with Iris confronting Joe about not asking out that lady, those scenes didn't do anything at all in this episode. Like, literally had no reason to be there. It didn't have an arc. Joe didn't end up asking her out or not asking her out or getting into an argument with. It was real filler fluff that didn't need to be there in any way. I didn't get it.
I get what you're saying, because I mean, I didn't mind that scene at all.
Yeah,
but it did. Yeah, because last week it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah,
last week he said no to the DA. This week he says no to the DA, and we haven't gotten an explanation yet.
It was the exact same scene as last week. It was almost like they were trying to like remind us about it, because to be like, we're just gonna give you a little refresher because we're gonna do this next week. And I'm like, well then why don't you just start next week's episode with a previously on The Flash. Joe didn't ask out that lady, and then the episode starts. Like, I don't know why there were scenes about that.
Yeah, I don't know if there was a scene missing, or if this just is an oddly long arc for Joe, like a 3-episode arc about how he won't ask out a lady.
Yeah,
that's tedious.
And I think like one other con that I gotta bring up too is that even though I know it ended up being a hologram, before we figured out that it was a hologram, nobody took it as seriously as they should have. The fact that this wasn't a metahuman, Godzilla exists. A large portion of the city saw that Godzilla exists. Caitlin showed up and they were like, oh, there was a whole Godzilla thing. And Caitlin was like, I didn't hear about it. It should have been everywhere. On every news outlet, everywhere in the world. Even if, like, The Flash is the press kind of knows, but doesn't know, but we're not making a big deal out of it. A Godzilla exists. Sure, later it doesn't. No one knows that. Everywhere on Earth should be freaking out.
I'm laughing so hard because he literally yelled this at every scene that didn't start about the Godzilla monster. every scene that started, you were just like, why isn't this scene about Godzilla? You're 100% right.
As much as I love the Cisco Wells stuff, when it would come back from commercial and Cisco and Wells and Cisco would be like, I don't know if I trust you. I'm like, you know what Cisco's first line this scene should have been? Godzilla exists! Oh my god. Oh my, just
and
him running in a circle.
He could be anywhere.
It was
a disappearing Godzilla is a huge threat.
The most severe threat they've ever encountered. Should it have been real, which they presumed it was, the most severe threat they have ever encountered on the show.
Bigger than a king shark.
Yeah.
Bigger than a king shark.
And when King Shark happened, they called in Diggle from Arrow.
Yeah,
they shut it down.
Special police.
When King Shark happened, every scene in that episode started with them going, oh my god, holy crap. Dear Lord, help us. There is a shark that is a man. It is unstoppable, and hell has now entered this earth. Everyone freaked out at the beginning of every scene for the human shark baby. And this episode, they were just like, it's Godzilla. Listen, we'll get to it when we get to it. Don't you hate HR's hat? I'm like, why are we talking about this right now? Okay.
I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue any of those points. Your rant said it all.
Thank you. We got to get to some comments, though. What do we got going on for cons?
Titan and David Folmsby
and
Will B all pointing out.
Titan, Folmsby, Will B.
The kid with the hologram. Why isn't he joining the team? Where did he get that tech? What's going on? Why are they ignoring this?
He was my second con. Oh, God, no. Don't do any of those things. Annoying kids. We don't need those in the show. We don't need annoying children with problems. I really hated that plot point of just, random kid you've never heard of with terrible backstory. I assumed it was going to end up being Julian.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I did think, though, once they revealed that it was a kid, that the scene was going to end with, you're great at technology, you should join the team. I flat out thought it was going to end with being like, you should.
I'm so glad he went to prison. Talk about following the rules. Get that kid out of here.
I actually would have liked the kid to have joined the team.
Oh, no, I wasn't for that at all.
Because when they were at one point, when Julian did say, I almost shot a 14-year-old, I'm like, no, you didn't. You almost shot a 25-year-old who was playing 17 at best. You did not almost shoot a 14-year-old. Or whatever it was he said. I was like, you skewed a little too young on that one, bud. But I
don't think he wrote the script.
Yeah, fair enough. But
I'm not gonna blame Draco Malfoy for that.
Yeah. But they did. But yeah. But I thought that it was good. I thought they were leading to him joining the team. I would have been excited for it. I actually thought
that was way too abrupt for me.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't feel anything towards him. I'm like, oh, people bullied you and you became a bully. No, I don't give any f's about that.
A. Michaels pointing out that Wally had no lines, though apparently next week is a big Kid Flash episode.
Well, next week's episode's called Killer Frost, isn't it?
Well,
there's no show next week.
That's right, in 2 weeks. Yeah, but I'm not surprised Wally didn't have many lines because Caitlin didn't have for 2 episodes. It really seems like now they're going to be moving into the rotating cast model, which I don't mind so much for a show. I kind of like every 2 weeks having one character kind of fade into the background, and also it's just hella easier and more comfortable on the actors in terms of their shooting schedule and making things a little bit less of an ensemble on a show like this when they really don't need it. With a sitcom and a comedy, you need every actor there, but I feel like it's okay to have every couple of weeks one character fade in the background. So I'm not surprised by the Wally thing.
I'm not surprised either. I think it's more weird when they put him in scenes when he hadn't been in the episode at all. At the very end when HR is explaining who he is and then he's been lying, Wally's suddenly there when he hasn't been there in the entire episode. I'm like, did you even know he was lying or anything? Who invited Wally? I don't mind. Yeah. I like Wally's storylines. I like Wally, but if he's gonna not be in the episode, just give that guy the week off. Let him go relax on the beach in Vancouver. Don't bring him in for one line. He was in his trailer this is bullshit. One line. I could be somewhere else.
Couple theories about Caitlin's mom saying that she staged that whole thing and that she's going to be back. She's going to be a villain of some kind.
Yeah, Caitlin's mom was definitely not trustworthy in any regard whatsoever. From the second she stepped out on screen, I was like, oh yeah, you're playing a classic B. Just a real classic B.
Yeah, well, I feel like if it was staged, that scene would have been revealed as being staged in the bumper with the scientist guy.
I thought so too, and I was surprised by that.
I won't be surprised if her mom betrays her and experiments on her. She's clearly very business oriented.
Yeah.
This only mom alive in the entire Flash universe.
Yeah,
Barry's mom is dead. Wally and Iris's mom is dead. I don't think we've ever met Cisco's mom.
No,
Wells'
she's
wife
definitely
is dead.
Yeah.
No women are alive over 20 on this show. Congratulations, Caitlyn's mom.
Caitlyn's mom will be dead before the beginning of next week's episode.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a cold open.
Yeah.
Cold open?
Yeah. I do agree, though. I thought it was going to end up with her betraying Caitlyn. I did not think that Scientist, who did not have any lines, was going to be the one betraying, and that we were just going to end this episode as if it was a one-off. Like, I really, honestly, also feel like that we might never bring up Caitlyn's mom as a character again. It's so weird that story even existed. I cannot predict in any way where that's going to go.
Mm-hmm. I can also see, though, her mom being the kind of lady to try to steal Caitlyn's powers, because she's also very emotionally cold.
Yeah.
So, like, an episode where she tries to get them for herself because their DNA would match up and stuff.
And she murdered that scientist, by the way.
She definitely killed that guy.
She murdered that scientist. When she said, Caitlyn, you're not a killer, and Caitlyn says, what about him? And she says, I'll take care of him. Don't worry about him.
You go.
And I'm like, that's a murder line. That's something someone says when they're about to murder a human being.
That's what a mob boss says to his underlings when the underlings gotta go.
Yeah, that's what a mob boss says to their kid. To be like, I'm gonna protect you. You're my child. Go. I take care of problems. Mm-hmm. Anyway, all right. I think that's enough for the cons. Let's get into Easter eggs. All right, so for Easter eggs in tonight's episode, Diana, what did you find?
I didn't find much about actual comic books. One thing that's been brought up, I think kind of before, maybe not by us. So this Wells is called H.R. Wells. And in the real world, we have the writer H.G. Wells. And then this guy ends up being a novelist. And one of the things that he said he wrote was World War M, where R.H.G. Wells wrote War of the Worlds. So we got like nice little nods. I couldn't find any more references to H.G. Wells things that he said.
Okay.
I like checked all his books out and stuff, and I didn't notice anything else. H.G. Wells didn't write anything about the Titanic that I found.
Okay.
He did write Time Machine.
Right.
So there's that. And then the only other really little cute thing I saw was I thought it was really cute that Cisco was wearing a Jaws shirt during the monster episode.
Oh, okay. I mean, it wasn't.
It's not an Easter egg.
It wasn't a King Shark episode.
No, but like that's like the first movie monster. No, he wasn't the first movie monster.
No,
I feel
not
like
even
Jaws
close.
is like the first.
It's a big one.
I think he's the first
a
monster
big one
that scared people.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Okay.
I thought his shirt was on point.
All right. It was just a mechanical shark.
Well, it was
so
just a mechanical Godzilla.
It wasn't. It was a hologram.
It was a
hologram,
totally
different thing.
But it was made with
It's a totally different thing. Yeah.
So what we've learned is that Jaws exists in this universe, but
yes.
Godzilla does not.
Yeah, nobody said Godzilla.
Oh yeah, no one said Godzilla.
But
But
we have a Jaws shirt.
No one said Godzilla, but we have a Jaws shirt. So that's
Which explains why that monster didn't actually look like Godzilla. It was like more like the alien meets other aliens.
It definitely had some alien inspiration about it. It definitely had like a little bit of a Cloverfield vibe at times, but like, you know, it's a little bit of a monster mashup of any given giant monster that you could come across.
It was nicely unique though. I feel like that kid should go into graphic design instead of terrorizing cities.
I will say that as much as it was like not the most original creature creation possible, it was a bit of a mashup of everything. The sum of its parts still created something kind of wholly unique and special, and I actually would have liked to have seen the Flash fight that monster. And the like the separated arms,
the two arms were cool
because it wasn't four arms like Goro from Mortal Kombat. It was like a single shoulder joint that split off into two arms, almost like a pincer, but each individual. Mm-hmm. Each individual arm still had hands.
He could juggle so well.
It was it'd be a real tight juggle. Real tight juggle.
Hot juggle.
But yeah, it was unique and cool. I would have liked to have seen that monster as a legit monster. Yeah.
Sir Titan says that Killer Frost absorbs energy like in the New 52, and she and Ronnie make a whole lot more sense if that's the case.
Yeah, the energy absorption, that they're the parallels of one another, that one absorbing heat, both absorbing energy, one creating heat, the other creating cold. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they're meant to kind of be parallels of one another.
That's gonna be really sad since Ronnie's dead.
But her husband Firestorm is dead,
which her mom didn't know about.
That was a weird one. When she was like, my husband died last year, Mom was like, oh, I'm sorry.
I guess you know exactly what I'm talking about then.
But
oops, we could have bonded a year ago.
But now here's the thing. In the way that they delivered that line, I couldn't tell if it was just a really bad reading of that line or if her mom legitimately just found out that her son-in-law was dead. Like,
I feel like she just found out.
I feel like I would accept any answer to this question because it was such an ambiguous read to just be like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, what does any of this look mean? I don't know I've never seen anyone act or live with whatever look you're currently doing.
They're complicated women, though. Snow women.
I was gonna say, like, she actually kind of matches the casting, kind of matches the daughter really well, of being like blandly reading a script to the point that I can't tell what it's supposed to mean or the motivation is. Yeah.
A. Michaels says he wants to see a Captain Cold Killer Frost team up at some point.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, Michaels, that would be good.
I want to see Captain Cold and everything. So.
Yeah. You just naturally want more.
Although I always feel those team ups like they both do the same thing, so they never make any sense. Like you both can already freeze everything. I don't see why they would ever need each other's help.
Right. Well, usually for those type of team ups where you both do the same thing, it's either like you need to create a mega thing that one of you is not powerful enough for. Like, you need to create the absolute zero and mega cold. You need to freeze a sun that's about to explode coming in from a different parallel universe. So, there's always, like, a mega thing. Or one of them, like, the gun breaks and, like, Killer Frost has to, like, repower the gun. Or she's losing her power. But, like, the gun can, like, help revitalize. Yeah, there's something like that.
All right, that kind of works.
There's lots of angles.
I actually prefer team-ups
They'll
where,
make it work.
They have something that the person doesn't have.
Yeah, let's go home and write this fanfic.
All right.
Yeah, let's get this done. Yeah. All right, I think we got to most of what was going on in the comment thread. All right, perfect. Well, I think we hit everything that we wanted to hit. I talked about all I wanted to both compliment and poop on.
So that was all my stuff. Thank you so much for watching and commenting along with us. We love that. If you want to tweet along with us, you can follow the Dorkshelf Twitter @Dorkshelf and use the hashtag FamilyFan. We read all those. We retweet them. We love hearing what you guys have to say about the Flash. Yeah, tweet along with us every week. Next week we will not be here because there is not a new Flash next week due to the U.S. presidential election. Go vote.
You definitely do that. But yeah, there'll be no Flash next week. But week after, we'll be back. Tweet along with us then and talk to us then.
Yeah. And make sure you subscribe to Dorkshelf on YouTube.
Yeah, go underneath and do that right now.
You can find us at FromSuperheroes.com.
Yeah.
And so I think that's about it.
I think that's everything. I'm Andrew Ibney.
I'm Diana McCollum, and I'm just a hologram.
No.
Kicked him out!